All right, welcome back to another episode of Emotional Nightmares. My name is Tyler. I am your host. We are still down here at Club, what is this, 831? At Club 831, um, down here in Butler, PA. So if you are out and about, you're in Butler, swing through. This is a nice recovery spot for you to come to, especially if you're struggling. So on today's episode, we have another guest with us who is going to share with us her experience, strength, and hope, and how she gets through and got through. Um, so, with that, I'm going to go ahead and give you Mallory. So, Mallory, go ahead and introduce yourself. In the microphone, though, please.
I am 35. I'm from Butler, born and raised here. Left here twice, came back twice.
Why?
I still ask myself that question, but really, once was for the military, and another one was trauma, and I'll get to that 'cause that's part of my story. So, yeah, I started using drugs when I was 12. I grew up with like two addict parents, an alcoholic father. My mom was like in and out of biker gangs. It was just a lifestyle. Like I thought that was normal. I didn't think that normal was normal. I thought that was weird because I always grew up around, it was nothing for me to get home from school and my dad already be drunk. And that's just what I always knew.
How old were you then?
My dad was an alcoholic my whole entire life.
So then it definitely was really
Yeah,
normalized behavior.
my parents met at an AA meeting, so it was absolutely normal. That's what I grew, and I grew up in and out of the rooms at AA with my dad because he would get court ordered, and then I would have to go because he didn't have somebody to watch me, and that type of stuff. So, I can remember though, like I don't know. I always had this strong like hatred towards alcohol because I always knew my dad was an alcoholic, but I never knew my parents were into drugs till I was a teenager. Um, and when I realized that it was already too late, I was already there myself. But like the hatred just always went with me for alcohol against my dad. Um, and that,
So was it with the alcohol or more just toward the resentment towards your dad?
I don't know. It's a good question because there's a lot of moments where he wasn't present in my life, but my mom still was able to be, even though there was drug use. So maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe that's something I haven't even worked on yet. I'm not really sure the answer to that question. I just know that, like, I never had an issue with alcohol because of that. That's one thing I can say. So, like I said, I started using when I was 12. By the time I was 15, I was like fully, full blown crackhead. Still managed to go to school, still managed to hold a job, still managed to run in a fire department, and still had the dream of going in the military. And like I obtained all of that. So for a while, I was that functioning addict. But I wasn't though. Like now that I look back on it, I'm like, man, that was bad. That was really bad. And I thought everything was okay because I still went to high school and still graduated and still held, the Wendy's job and
I love that you say that, right? Because so this is season 3. So on season 2, I had a guy where we talked about like he was trying to talk about like, well, he thought he was a functional addict, right? Because like he had a job, and it always amazes me that we as addicts are like, well, I'm functional. I got a fucking job. Like I can pay bills, so like it's okay to smoke crack. You know what I mean? So while smoking crack, you were still able to maintain going to the military even.
I even got fully certified as a volunteer firefighter right here in Lindora when it was still operational. I was an ROTC in high school. Like I
So if this place burns down, you'll be able to save us because I'm worried about my light. Just so you know, that light over there is probably a fire hazard.
Been a little bit, but I'm sure we can figure it out.
Almost there.
Yeah, so I knew at a really young age I wanted to go into the military, and whenever like I realized I might have a problem, because I was that teenage girl where I dated the boy who was older than me, and I hung out with the kids that were older than me, and So I thought it was cool because I was in high school, they weren't, we were getting high. So I was like, maybe going to the military will fix me. I do remember thinking that. I do
I
remember.
love how everybody thinks that. Military will fix you.
It doesn't. This my story, it doesn't.
I don't know a single person that it's fake.
No, not
Usually come out worse.
Well, I'll be honest with you, really what it did. So I went in and I got injured in the military. So I got the medical discharge. So they're like, all right, let's hand you a bunch of money. Pretty much you keep your mouth shut and don't say nothing because this was really our fault. But we don't want that to get leaked out. And they shipped me back home. So I came home like with a whole bunch of money. And what I had learned in that process, of course I didn't know it then, was all I did was get away from the drugs for that period of time. I didn't work on anything. I didn't work on any of the mental aspect. I didn't work on any of the trauma that had occurred before that. I watched my dad burn in front of me when I was 15. I never worked through any of that. I just went away and thought my problems would go away. So it took me probably another 11 years to realize that I had stuff that I ran from. So was I really going in the military because, that's what I grew up knowing because I came from a very strong military family, or did I go because I saw an out and I ended up coming back, right back into it full force?
Probably a little both.
It probably was a little bit of both. There was aspects where I was proud to be in it, and it has got me to where I'm at today, which I'll get, to that too, and it's given me opportunities that most people never, would get to experience.
Sure.
But in the military, though, we don't talk about that. You're here for one thing, and that's to be a soldier, and not to talk about your problems, and not to, mask them or do this or you don't have those problems. Like,
right.
That's what you're taught. So that started getting instilled in me too. And I'm at a really conflicting age. I'm like, 17, 18 years old. I'm still young. I'm still finding me. And it's hard when you're a woman too. You don't get, because military is still to this day, men strong and women are just behind. They're just accepted. So you have to work harder to prove yourself in that. So when I come back, it wasn't long after that a lot of the trauma really started kicking in too. I was only home for, I think, 3 months, and my uncle committed suicide. So, I had money, I had the means, I was right back with that guy I was dating in high school that really got me into things. So I was off to the races running. And that was a horrible time in my life because it was right around then that I found out I was pregnant with my first child that I actually ended up losing because of my drug addiction. So that was something that I did not work on actually until just a few years ago. I started working through that. I pushed that away and was like, oh, that never happened. It's okay. I won't ever have to deal with this again in my life till something in my life came up that made me have to deal with it again. And that was something that another reason why I sought to continue to get high. I already lost somebody close to me, and then I find out I'm pregnant, and then I lose that because of drugs, and then I'm like, well, what's the point? Let's just keep going at this point. And then I meet my son's dad, and that was a whole whirlwind of experience too. Again, I was young, and he was 14 years older than me. He had the money, he had the house, he had the drugs, he had all of that, and I'm seeing everything red flagged as green flags, and I go for it. And the only positive thing that came out of that was my son. And when I found out I was pregnant with my son, I did get high that day, and I stopped for over 2 years. I just was I'm not doing this again. I'm not going to put myself through the horror of losing another child because of my drug usage. So I did walk away. But like the saying, we hang around the barbershop long enough, we get a haircut.
Well, I mean, ultimately, everybody can walk away, right? We all have the ability to do, and we just talk about this, I think, every episode. It's we all have the ability to just say, yeah, I'm done, right? Drugs and alcohol were never the problem anyway, right? We're the problem. So, but when drugs and alcohol are our only coping skill, it's only a matter of time before we go back to that coping skill if we don't have it replaced with the positivity, the support group, the friends, so on and so on.
And it would go so much deeper for me than just that. Like, of course, then I didn't realize what I know now, but what I know now is the abandonment issues, the attachment issues, trying to constantly fill that void of having missing parents growing up. Like, my parents were physically there, but we all know physically and emotionally are two totally different things.
Absolutely.
So, his dad was like slipping up, staying clean during this period, not being a father himself. And I'm a first time mom. That's scary in itself. You're with somebody who keeps getting high. So what do you eventually do? Well, if you're not working on yourself, you're going to get high too. And when I did, and it was worse. I was off for the races again. So I'm like standing there thinking, here we are, like I have this child who is relying on me, but I can't get myself together long enough for him to rely on me. And that brought a lot of pain that I had to work through also. And like my son's actually going to be 13 on Tuesday. I don't keep any of this from him. He knows all of this because I feel like my parents negatively kept things but showed me things, and had things been different, maybe I wouldn't have ended up on drugs. So I don't want that. I want my son to be able to come to me and say, Mom, what's this drug and what's it do? And like they were talking about it at school because you're in high school, things get talked about.
He's at that critical age where it's very, especially nowadays, like these kids nowadays are really experimenting with everything. Like shit that we don't even know, honestly.
Well, I have got lucky. He does have a mouth on him, but other than that, he's definitely my child. He will come home and he'll be like, Mom, there was somebody smoking a cigarette at the bus stop, and I told them that that's not a good thing to do. So far, because when I was 13, I was getting high.
Yeah.
So you could be.
I was smoking at the bus stop too, only
Right.
weed.
Right. So, but then like, I don't know, that was bad though, because I drug him through all of that with me. I mean, I know his dad did too, but I can remember times of like he just wanted something to eat, or he just wanted a little bit of attention, and I would be like, oh my God, I can't do this with you. You know what I mean? Because I was more worried about getting that next one
Right.
than being the parent. So we actually went through a raid on our house, and he went through that and he remembers it. I don't know how he remembers it because he was so young, but he does. And that was my first experience to like heavy law enforcement and CYS, and because CYS is a huge part of my story. And I remember holding such anger towards them that time. Like, how dare you take my child? This is all his dad's fault. This isn't me. And really, it was me. It was both of us in reality. And it could have been worse. They could have taken my child from me for good, and all they did was just take him and place him with my grandparents for like 30 days. So that was my first introduction to knowing, truthfully, like, this isn't for me. But apparently I wasn't ready. I did good for a little bit, but was it because I had so much law enforcement breathing down my neck that I had to do good, or I was going to go to jail, or was it really because I wanted to? Again, I don't know. Of course there was all these hoops I had to jump through, all these things I had to do, all the stuff that they require of you. But I do remember feeling like that little bit of relief that we get when we get that like 60 or 90 days clean,
Yeah.
and then you're like, man, I got a little bit of money in my pocket. I don't look like I'm dead. And I don't have to do this today. Like, all I had to wake up and do was be a mom. I didn't have to wake up and be a drug addict and a mom. And it was nice. I do remember that. But it didn't last long because I wasn't ready. I wasn't working on me. I was doing what the courts were requiring me to do to keep my child in my life. I wasn't doing what Mallory should have been doing to keep her present in her life. So I go back out again, get clean, go back out, get clean, every time CYS would come, do the, all right, what do I got to do so you don't take him from me? Which led me to, the usage of MATs and all of that because that was acceptable, but to them, but I could still get high because I'm on MATs, and they wouldn't take my child because it's per tribe, so they can't. So I went through that whirlwind cycle too. And I don't discredit them if it helps somebody, but that's just not me. Like, I know now that doesn't help me.
Right.
It may have then, because, yeah, like, I quit smoking crack, I quit doing the opiates, but I was getting high on them, but I still kept my child.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it may have prevented you from killing yourself,
yeah,
right?
oh,
Like,
absolutely.
ultimately. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. All right.
Because that's something I can remember being asked several times too. At the assessments that we go through, and one of the questions that you're asked is, like, do you want to harm yourself or someone else? And I actually remember, like, when I went to jail, I was asked that, and I looked at the guard and I said, I don't know one drug addict that doesn't want to fucking kill themselves. Like, seriously.
Right. I always am amazed that we believe them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why would you believe me? Like, do you want to harm yourself? No. Look at me. Look at my life right now. Like, I've begged for this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But because I said that, though, I ended up on suicide watch.
Yeah.
They really thought I'm like, really? Maybe I'm actually going to get some sleep. I'm not going to kill myself. So, I remember, like, the in and out, and I can't even, like, this is how horrible it is I can't even tell you the dates or, like, how long he would be taken from me or how long I'd be getting high or how long I'd stay clean. I just remember coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. But I do know that back in, like, 2018, like, I had really hit a hard rock bottom. It was really bad. And I got introduced, like, to the world of selling drugs too. So now you're mixing two different addictions into one big ball that go hand in hand with each other. And you're giving them to somebody who has always thrived off of, like, the military background or holding a job or something like that. Because I grew up small business, my grandparents owned their own land surveying company, so I always had that option to work. So now you're giving me something that's going to fuel my own personal addiction and cause a whole nother addiction on top of that. Cool, let's run with it. Why not?
Yeah.
So then, like,
I mean, I would argue that it's more addicting than the drug.
yeah,
Right? Like, I think, you know, selling drugs for me was way more addicting than ever using the drugs. I would rather like just being able to wake up and be like, oh shit, I'm broke, and then like go to bed and be like, oh shit, I got a couple grand. You know what I
that's
mean?
still that what you just explained right there still manifests in my life today. Obviously, I'm
Sure.
doing drugs, but
Oh yeah. But in many different
the
forms.
money aspect, I'm always wanting to, like, hustle more money or find ways, like, I'm never making enough money in my eyes, and that goes back to those moments of never having to worry when you start selling drugs because you always have it now at this point.
Yeah.
And it's the fluctuate, like, I remember somebody telling me getting clean was never meant to be easy. And I'm like, oh, I just want easy. You know what I mean? I just want, like, here's this, do this with it, and this is going to be your outcome. I don't want here's this. It's up to you what you do with it. Be patient for the outcome. I hated when people would say that to me. I hated the trust the process. And now,
I mean, get it. I mean, sobriety is easy though,
it is.
right? Like it's very simple. It's very like put the drugs down,
Yep.
change the way you think, you just do something a little bit different,
Yeah.
right? Like it is. I know. Something that helps me because like you had just mentioned about like the mindset of like I need more money, 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 money. I used to be like that, but something that really changed my perception was being able to look at life and be like, you know what, nothing matters. Like none of this is real. None of this matters. The only thing that matters is what time am I spending with people,
Yep.
not money. Like I could care less about the money. Like it matters about like the quality time. You know what I mean? Um, like my niece is over there, like just playing a game of basketball with her is more important than like here's $20.
I have that hard lesson too, which is a part of my recovery aspect of the story. That taught me that because it's gone in a second and you
Yeah,
never know when.
absolutely.
So, like, I said I had to hit that rock bottom in 2018, and my son actually had got kidnapped. It was a whole big thing. My mom was part of it. His dad was part of it. There was pending charges of a whole big open investigation. So here comes CYS again. And the lady's like, look, because like it's different circumstances this time, I'm not necessarily here because of you, even though like obviously you're getting high and you're not being a mom. But like this is what we're going to do. If you cooperate with us and you sign temporary guardianship over to somebody you trust, go to rehab, like we'll be out of your hair. So the only people I had to turn to were my grandparents who were in their mid 80s, and they took this toddler on and raised him after they've done raised 5 boys and grandkids and full blown like raising another child. And my grandfather was like just slowly starting to get sick at this point because unfortunately he's not here anymore. My grandma is. She's gonna be 91 in July.
God bless her.
Yeah, she's the world, man. She'll tell you about yourself too. I'm like, I always know when she's like, Mallory Ann, I'm in trouble. I'm in big trouble. But all they ever wanted was for me to be a mom. Was just get clean, you know what I mean, and be a mother. Like,
Yeah.
They saw something in me I didn't see in me, and that was my first introduction to that too. So I went to this rehab. I stayed for like 2 weeks. I was enrolled at BC3 at the time. I convinced them that I had to leave. My grandfather came and picked me up. I was getting high before I even walked in the door. You know what I mean? It was already all set up. It was the lifestyle too. It's another aspect of it. So I end up homeless in Butler in the middle of winter because of a horrible choice that I made. Besides just getting high, but there was like other things involved, and I had to face this, and I was facing hefty charges, like prison for life charges, and man, being homeless really opened my eyes up. And like when I tell you, like a homeless, like I had nowhere. Nobody wanted nothing to do with me at this point, unless you were, doing what I was doing. You wanted nothing to do with me. My grandparents would let me come occasionally, like to eat and shower, and like that would be about it. I wasn't allowed to be there during the day when Jace was there because they could lose him, and I couldn't do that either. I couldn't put my child at risk because my grandparents were trying to be nice.
Right.
So, I remember my pap saying to me one day, I didn't raise you like this. Because I spent a lot of time with them growing up because of my parents. And he said, I will never understand why you're doing this, but all I'm going to ask you is just please do whatever you need to do so I'm not burying you, because he had to bury his son because of an overdose.
Right.
So he's like, I don't want to have to bury my granddaughter too. And I remember May 5th, I was walking down the street in downtown Butler. Don't know why. It's like, we talk about the spiritual moments. Something told me to leave the house because I had warrants in Allegheny County and Butler County. And, they were really looking for me. I knew this. I wasn't leaving the house. I paid people to leave the house for me. Something told me to leave the house that night. I'm walking down the street. I have my hood up so you can't see my face. My head's down like this and my hair is around my face.
Don't look suspicious at all.
No, not at all. And this car pulls up behind me and he puts the window down. Didn't even refer to me by my last name. He said, Mal, let me just help you get some help. And it was a Butler City police officer. And I can remember, like, my shoulders just dropping, and I look up and I took this big sigh of relief because it was finally over. I had called my mom a month prior, so in April, and I was in a really bad situation, and I said, look, this is what I'm in. This is what's going on. Will you please help me? Like, I'm ready to go to rehab. And she said, no, figure it out on your own. You're on your own. She hung up on me. So, when we have those moments, what's the first thing we think when we're that far gone? Is nobody cares. Why should I? We should keep going. Like, I had accepted dying on the streets because 2 months before this cop pulled up on me, my mom did come pick me up one day. And I said, where are we going? I thought she was going to, like, do an intervention on me or something. And she takes me to Thompson Miller Funeral Home because she's really good friends with Robin Miller, the funeral director. And we go in there and we sit down and there's paperwork sitting there. And my mom said, sign that. And I said, why? And she said, because you're going to die and I want to have this prepared. So I signed my own paperwork, got up, and I said, all right, now that I just signed my own death paperwork, can I go get high? And I walked out. So, then the following months when I called my mom and asked for help and she told me no, I'm like, man, this is real. Ain't nobody helping me. So then the following months when that, cop decided to lend a helping hand, I just knew I didn't have to do this anymore. I just knew that this was my moment to get that help that I didn't know how to obtain because I thought I was so far gone. I thought there was no help for me at this point. And I agreed. I said, yeah. And I had nothing. We don't, when we're in that far, what do we have? We have clothes on our back, and that's about it. I had like $60 in my pocket. So I go into Butler, and I went through all those questions like I just talked about, and that's where I ended up on the suicide watch because they really thought that I wanted to kill myself. And I like remember saying, I think I'm already dead, so I think you're good. I don't think you have to worry about me wanting to kill myself at this point. I just want help at this point. And I had been up for 11 days straight. And all I wanted to do was just sleep. I just wanted to eat, and I just wanted this to be over because, this wasn't my first time getting clean. So I knew that once you got through that horrible first couple of weeks, that you felt so much better after that. And you start putting the nutrients back in your body that we deprive ourselves of. You start feeling better. So they said you get the one phone call and whatever. So it's like 11:30 at night, and I call my grandma, and she, all she saw in the caller ID was Butler County. She didn't read the rest of it. And she woke up my grandfather and she said, "Get up, this is the phone call." She thought it was the coroner's office calling her to tell her she had come identify my body because she was always my emergency contact. So I get on the phone with her and I said, "Grandma, I just want to let you know, they finally arrested me. I'm in jail. I don't know how long I'm going to be in here for. I don't know what's next." And she started crying. And she said, "Thank God." And she said, "This is probably the best phone call I could ever get." And I will never forget that.
Yeah, because she knew you were safe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And she knew I wasn't going to die, And that she wasn't going to have to get that phone call. And when she wasn't going to have to explain to my son, "Hey, your dad already wants nothing to do with you, but now your mother's dead." She knew that there was a little bit of hope that that could be a possibility. So I sat him a couple days in Butler, and they were like, "Well, you have a detainer in Allegheny County, so you have to go to ACJ." And I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be fun." So I go down there. Worst experience ever. I do not ever recommend jail to anybody, but especially not ACJ. It was horrible. It was disgusting. It was grimy. It was gross. I didn't like other females at that time. They have me in a room with 25 other females. And I'm dope sick, and I wanted nothing to do with anything.
Sounds like a great time.
Oh, great. It was great. Oh, and there was a water main break, so they fed us bologna sandwiches, and I fucking hate bologna.
Yeah.
Even more of a great time. But I do remember going in front of the judge, and he had my paperwork pulled, and I sat down, and he said, "Miss Bowl, you are a veteran of the United States military. What are you doing in my courtroom for drugs?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know." And he said, "Well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you one opportunity to go to rehab and pull your life back together. And then when you get out, you'll come in front of me. And if you don't show up for that, you will come right back in here again. And I will make you sit here this time." So I said, "Okay." And I got up and walked out. And I went back to the pod, and I called. My dad answered the phone. My dad, he's been in jail before, so he knows the process. And I told him, and I said, will you tell Jason? He said, "No, you know what? You're going to tell him." And I get on the phone with my son. He was 5 at the time. And I said, Mommy's gone away for a while. And he said, "That's okay, Mommy." He said, "I love you." And I broke down and lost it. In that moment, I knew, I have to do it this time. I absolutely have to do it.
So that would probably be that was the last time that was the time you got sober, right? That was this time. So that would be the moment then, because I always ask everybody, what was that moment that made you say, "I gotta fucking do something different"? So that's your moment.
That was my moment. That and being an ACJ, I'm telling you, a mix of that.
Yeah.
That place was enough for me to know I don't ever want to go back there again.
Well, that's what I want you guys to keep in mind, like, because that's why I always ask everybody, like, what was that moment, right? Is because, like, I want, like, because hopefully everybody keeps that fresh in mind. Like, there's got to be that one moment in your life that you're like, fuck, I gotta do something different. This
Yeah.
can't be it.
Yeah, no 5-year-old child should ever have to say words like that to a parent. You know, kids aren't asked to be born into this world. It's not their fault that they end up in situations like that. It's our fault that we put them in situations like that.
Nice way. I'm glad you can take responsibility for that.
Oh, I can now. I couldn't that.
Yeah, a lot of people struggle with that.
So I went off to rehab, went to White Deer Run, did everything that they told me to do, plus some. I did things that weren't required just because I was knowledge hungry at that point because I knew, that breaking point that I had on the phone. And I remember them saying to me, if you do anything right today, you will go to a meeting when you go home. So I got out June 25th, 2019, go back to my grandparents. I said, I got to go to a meeting. And I had chose NA this time instead of trying AA. And I walked into an NA meeting, and there was like over 100 people in this meeting. This is pre-COVID. It was massive. It was a speaker from Pittsburgh. He's still clean to this day. He's got decades clean. And my anxiety was telling me to run. And I'm sitting there, and I like went to turn in my chair like this to get up and walk out. And somebody taps me on the shoulder, and I turn around, and it's my cousin. And he's like, Mal, it's great to see you in here. And now I'm like, oh fuck, I can't go anywhere because he ain't gonna let me leave this meeting now.
All right.
And I stayed. Like still to this day, I'm still part of that fellowship.
Nice.
Um,
So what do you think's changed, right? So here we are, because you've done this before, right? And like you said, you had like what 6 years where you were at least abstinent. Um, Here we are, getting close to your marks. What's different? What's changed?
involvement in knowing. I don't know. I got married right after that and moved to Florida, and I didn't want to be there, but I went because my husband wanted to be there. It was great. I landed a phenomenal job, gave me the opportunity to go back to school, and I'm 5 months away from my bachelor's degree. I'll graduate in July with my bachelor's degree in land surveying management for construction. Um, but he died as a direct result from this. And that was a huge eye opener for me too. I mean, obviously I was clean. I stayed clean through all of that. I stayed clean because I knew I wanted to. Because I knew I had changed. I knew that that wasn't me anymore. I knew that I didn't have to turn to those drugs. I knew that I wasn't the only person on the face of the earth that was going through something traumatic and that those people had stayed clean. So if they could do it, I could do it. And, like I had said at the beginning, I left Butler twice and came back twice. Well, that was the second time. The first time was the military. But when I came back up here, so after he passed, and I had to go through it, and that was horrific. Like, so he actually started to overdose driving a vehicle, and he wrecked the vehicle, and the vehicle was delivered to my house in two pieces. Sat in my driveway for 2 weeks, and my son and I had to walk by it every single day and look at that thing for 2 weeks straight. And my son, he said, Mom, I want to go home. I said, okay, because there's nothing left in Florida for either one of us at that point. Right. So Thanksgiving Day of 2023, we came back up here, and I said, I have to do this. And what I meant by that is, like, I have to do everything that I didn't do up till that point.
Right.
I was able to transfer my job, which I'm no longer with that job anymore. I actually own my own cleaning business now. But I decided to buy a house. And I said, this is not a good idea. I'm fully well aware of that. But I really needed to do it. I needed to know that I could be independent on my own. I needed to know that my son had that one place that he could always count safe. Because for the longest time, I didn't give that to him.
Right.
So,
now he has stability.
Yeah, he has that stability. He definitely does. And then, like, I was involved in something in Florida that was called Voices of Recovery. And they're a sub-chapter of the International Voices of Recovery organization. which is nonprofit and is recovery based to fight stigma. So, somebody up here had known that I was part of that and called me up one day and said, let's start it up here, but let's call it Faces of Recovery. So I was like, oh, all right, cool, let's do it. Not knowing that, like, it would lead to where we are now. Like, we're in the process of writing our bylaws to become a nonprofit.
Nice.
Yeah. And we've held numerous events, and we've helped some people along the way, which is, I don't know. I signed up for next Wednesday to go do this homeless point in time count in downtown Butler, where we're going out to the homeless spots and just trying to tell them, like, hey, you don't have to live like this. There is a better way. You don't have to be homeless. You don't have to be an addict. Like, we can help you. And had somebody done that for me, had these organizations existed, some of them did, some of them haven't, or didn't. I don't know that I'd have ran on the streets as long as I did.
Yeah.
If somebody would have taken that time to just sit down and have conversation with me or reach out to me, besides somebody who wanted to rob me or wanted to get high with me, I probably would have got help a lot sooner.
Well, I'll tell you, when I ask you what's different, right? There's a lot.
Yeah.
The stuff that you're doing is different. So, obviously they don't know, right? The people listening, right? Because you were supposed to be on our first season, right? So I met you on the first season, which by the grace of God, your episode's all jacked up. We couldn't even air it, right? Because I'll tell you that your growth from then till now is a hell of a lot better, right? Because like the first time, like when you just talking to you during the podcast, um, your message this time around is a lot better. It's a lot more clear. You're a lot better. You know what I mean? Like you can see the growth in you a lot more now than then. So that's awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love being able to see somebody then and like see them later down the road and be like, oh wow, like you really did some work on yourself, right? Because that shows me that you've done some work on yourself, which is even more awesome that you've worked on yourself and now you're doing this outreach program
Yeah.
thing that is giving back that work, right?
Yeah.
That's what's different.
I'm also like heavily involved in the veteran community now too. I sit on the
That's even more awesome.
so on the board for the American Legion in Dora, and I hold a position on the Butler County Marine Corps League board.
Nice.
Yeah, and I got to participate in the Veteran Stand Down Day, and that was phenomenal. Like, and those are the things that to being able to give back, to be able to reach out.
Makes you feel better.
Yeah.
Gave you a purpose.
Yeah. Because for the longest time, I didn't have that purpose. I did, you know what I mean? I thought I did, but I know now. Like, when I first got clean, I had like 90 days clean. Somebody who's massive in my support group, really, really good friend of mine. I remember him asking me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm like, I'm 29. What do you mean whenever I grow up? And he's like, you ain't even ready to answer that question. Never mind. And it was not long after that, I went back up to him and I just started bawling hysterically. Shot of blue. He's like, what is wrong with you? And I said, I don't know. I just don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want to be this. I want to change. I don't like this. Like, I don't want to get high, but I don't want to feel this. And he said, you remember what I asked you a couple months ago about what do you want to be when you grow up? He said, yeah. He said, I think you're ready to answer that question. Because I could tell you what my name was. I could tell you what my son's name was. I could tell you what my clean date was. And I really couldn't tell you much more. And now I can tell you all that, plus.
So you found yourself.
Yeah.
So
through this process.
You got to know yourself.
But unfortunately, it took my husband dying for me to really work that out. Just really know.
So who are you?
So, I'm a mother. I'm a recovering addict. First and foremost, I'm the recovering addict. But now I have the opportunity to be a mother. I'm an advocate for people who may not feel that they have that voice. I'm a veteran. I'm somebody, like, I have conversations with people all the time who say, oh, I'm in my 30s, I can't go back to college, and I now have the opportunity to say, I did. You can do it. Like, you can do it. I remember thinking, I can't do this, but you can do it. But I think the number one thing I can tell you now is I'm Mallory, which I
Good.
probably wasn't able to say that before.
You love yourself now?
There's aspects I still need to work on, but yes, I do.
I mean, we all need to work on stuff, right? Nobody's perfect.
I mean, I've had that hot mess of the drama and what we do in recovery, and especially early recovery. And after my husband passed, I had that hot mess come right back again.
Yeah. I mean, that's, that's common with us.
Right.
Addicts and alcoholics is like, take the drugs and alcohol away, and boy, relationships can become one. And like that can become the new drug.
Yeah.
Especially when like, I think everybody's I've been there, right? Is like, I myself, like one time, like I was married once. I don't talk about often. But like I got divorced and I did the same thing,
Yeah.
right? Like I went self-seeking and like until eventually my sister, not this one, the good one, not that one that's over there, right? The one that cares. No, but no, actually she did too, right? So Nikki did too, right? So kind of came in the picture and was like, dude, sit down. Like, what are you doing? Like,
She said that to me several times.
yeah, it was like, I think Nicole did, like, it was like she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I met this girl. And she's like, no, Tyler, you've met a ton of girls. And like, you're just filling a void. Like, stop.
Yep.
Focus on you. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And like, that's the only way you can heal is when you stop and you look at like, I utilize the 12 steps and they're like, okay, here I can put these 12 steps in every one of my situations and then figure out like where did I fuck up and what do I need to fix and my character defects, and doesn't matter about the other person.
My sponsor has me writing on lust right now. I'm like, I fucking hate you.
Oh yeah. That's a good one.
But I love her at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have the ability now, like my son, and I got my son back when I had 11 months clean. I could have had him back sooner, but I chose not to because this time around I didn't want to mess it up. I didn't want to mess him up anymore, and I wanted to be able to do it right. And I know that there's no such thing as like parenting handbook, but I also knew that if I didn't do things differently, things wouldn't be different this round around. And our relationship started to grow and build and whatever. But after we went through that traumatic experience of losing my husband, our relationship really bonded even more because he went through that too. That wasn't his biological dad, but that was the one that stepped in as dad.
Sure.
So I mean, now I'm on the bro status and have been for like the past year and whatever, but he has no issues now coming to me and saying, Mom, I want to hang out with my friend, but I don't want to go there. Can they come here? And I have the ability today to offer that. A place where I know these kids are safe, where I know there's not the drugs or alcohol, because that wasn't my house growing up.
Right.
Or like he asked for a mini fridge for his birthday, and I told him no. Guess what's sitting in my fucking basement waiting for Tuesday? Goddamn mini fridge that he asked for. And those are the things
Of course,
that
you gotta have a mini fridge.
right.
Yeah, I just got one. They're great. I don't know why I just got one. I'm a grown ass adult. But I wanted a Minecraft one. I don't know.
I asked him, I'm like, what do you want a mini fridge for? He's like, well, since I have the video games, then that means I don't got to go downstairs to get a drink. I can just reach over and grab one.
That sounds perfect logic to me.
Oh, so perfect. I'm like, yeah, I can't even rationalize this, but whatever.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
So I get it. So that's cool, man. So you got it. You managed to put pieces back together.
Yeah, and then I got this brain-haired idea to go take CRS classes because I had the time to do it and I could do it, and I'm getting ready to take my test for that actually tomorrow.
Nice.
Fingers crossed that I pass it.
We need more of that.
Yeah.
We definitely do, right? Like the counties need more of that. I'd like to see more people do that. I know, like in my normal life job position, I need more CRSs, like, 'cause they're very helpful. Some of them are very helpful. Some of them, I mean, it's kind of like, what are you doing? But
But the biggest thing I've strived for now, besides helping people, is like education. My grandfather always told me there's no such thing as being overeducated. And if you get the opportunity to learn, even if it's not something like, I know I want to manage construction projects. Obviously, I wouldn't be spending this. It's not cheap to go to college. I wouldn't be spending this much time and money if I didn't know that's what I want to do. I grew up serving. I grew up project management. But that doesn't have to be the only thing I want to do in life.
Right.
So, like I went and got QPR certified, question, persuade, refer in relation to suicide. Like I took that, and there's like other smaller trainings coming up that I'm gonna take, and because I took the leap of faith to be a business owner myself, I have the availability to do that now. And that as soon as I finish my bachelor's degree, I'm gonna go on to my master's degree because we can do anything we want to do. We just gotta have that belief, that determination, that dedication, that push. I definitely didn't do this alone. I definitely had people say, you can do this. You just got to do it. We can't do it for you, but we can tell you that you can do it because we know you can.
And you did.
And I did.
Amen. So, all right, I'm going to end you there. And we're going to have to wrap this one. I greatly appreciate you coming back on and doing this. It was a pleasure. So.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So, as always, we will end this. So, as always, you guys could have been anywhere in the world today. You sat here and chose to be here with us. So, for that, I appreciate you. Remember, all you gotta do is get 24 hours, one day at a time. So, if you can just get sober today, tomorrow looks a little bit better. If you didn't get anything out of this, that's fine. Please call somebody, not the dope man. Don't call him. He don't want to hear from you. Call somebody in recovery, or call somebody who's just a normal, so-called normal person, and say, I really feel like getting high today. Help me stop from doing that. Reach out. There's tons of stuff out there to help. If you're in the Butler area, obviously there's a bunch of resources. Mallory just listed 47 different resources that are down here. So please do so. Don't be another statistic. The opiate addiction is crazy out here. People are dying left and right. All right, thank you.
Thank you for watching.